Hello, and welcome to today's Academy for Women Entrepreneurs event here in Ljubljana. I want to thank CEED for hosting once again and for continuing to have such wonderful program for all of you. It's been wonderful to see how much progress you have all made and how you continue to grow through this program. Today we have a special guest from America, Miss Theresa Daytner, who is here to help provide you mentorship and guidance. It's one of the things that she really has as one of her hallmarks, her mentorship. And it's going to be a real privilege for all of you to have her speak to you. I know you've all had a chance to read her bio. I would just highlight to you that she is been named by Fortune magazine as one of the top 10 most influential entrepreneurs in the world. So without further ado, over to you, Theresa.
Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate the introduction. And I just want to say, what an honor it is to be here with you. You in the audience, you with the American Women's Entrepreneurship Academy. You've already put yourself in this place where you can lift yourselves up. Look left of you and right of you, and these are your people that will be there to help you create extraordinary growth. So I honor you. And I wish I could speak Slovenian to greet you properly, and I were in the room to give you lots of hugs, because that's where I come from. But I want to share a little bit with you about my story and how did I dream of and reach extraordinary results that I, frankly, let's just say it was beyond my wildest dreams. And you can read my bio, and in the short version of the bio is I had an accounting firm, I had a residential roofing company, I've grown a construction company, and I've had been across the table from President Obama, and just the places that I've been and the people that I've met has just been extraordinary. And every single time I was scared. Every single time I would have had an opportunity to say no, to chicken out, to back out. And it was the vision of being able to reach something extraordinary that always put me in a position of most possibility, just like the room you're in today. The pitch you're going to give today, I can't imagine a single one of you is not going to be nervous. What you're putting on display here is your creativity and your dreams and your passion, and it's vulnerable to stand there in front of other people. But you're also planting a flag and believing what is possible and being surrounded by other people who will support you. That's a big part of my extraordinary growth. It's like having the opportunity to walk through one door, and I'll give you an example. I don't know, in the United States, we had a movement that started in the late 1970s, early 1980s, called Take Your Daughter to Work Day. And that has now become Take Your Child to Work Day. And the whole point behind it, and this ties into role modeling and mentoring, is that you have to see it to become it. And all the men were taking their sons to the office, so the sons could see themselves becoming what their fathers were. But they weren't taking their daughters. And so this movement started. The woman who had the vision to start that movement also felt like women entrepreneurs were playing at too small of a level to achieve economic empowerment. And so she started a program. She also had started Take Your Daughter to Work Day, but she started a program called Count Me In for Women's Economic Independence. By the way, I need to honor this woman who just opened up a path for me, Nell Merlino. And through her program, she also created Make Mine a Million. And it was an ambitious goal to try and get smaller women-owned businesses to see themselves having the opportunity to grow larger. And the best thing she did was to bring women together in community, to give pitches, and then to bring in sponsors to help lift these people up. So I had the good fortune of having my story told and repeated and amplified, and it opened up lots of doors. And that was through that program and through the community. And I'm still very close to the women in that group. I could pick up a woman I haven't talked to from that group in 10 years and say, I have a problem, and I think that you have the resources to help me out. So don't ever underestimate how important it is to have your community and your network to create that extraordinary growth. So that was, if I were to stop right here and say, that's what you need to do, that's one of the most important things. Besides drink a lot of water. My children know that that's my cure-all for everything. If you're feeling down, if you don't have energy, if you can't find the right decision, drink a lot of water. So there, now you know my medicine. But the other thing that I think is really important to share with you are the things that aren't on my resume, that aren't in my bio. And that's, I'm just going to call it the ugly stuff. The stuff that a lot of the women, a lot of people, let's just say a lot of people can relate to. We have 6 children. And let me just say that a number of those children came quite by surprise. The last 2 came in a pair. That was a huge surprise. And at the same time that I was in my childbearing years and in my passionate grow my business entrepreneurial years, both of my parents were sick. Now, I'm a Latina. Culturally, I'm 3rd generation born in the States, but that Hispanic culture of family and we take care of each other, that's in my blood. So when my parents were sick and I'm the oldest daughter in the family, I ultimately built a house for my parents to live there with us so we could care for them. My mother had multiple sclerosis, ending up in a wheelchair, and my father had advanced metastatic cancer. And they were both diagnosed when I was 23 years old. So the things that you're not going to see in my bio and in my resume, because that's where we show the shiny, pretty things. But I want you to be thinking in your question and answers, and please, I'll try to answer, you try to question, but I really encourage you, I'm an open book. Go deep. What are the challenges you're having that you're telling yourself, well, she can do that, but I couldn't? My life was anything but ordinary. All the way through. I've been divorced. I've had a lot of kids. I've had businesses fail. I've had big challenges in my life, and many that you can relate to. I'll tell you another part of the secret sauce. And Alia has some really good questions for me. We've had a couple conversations, and I'm so pleased with how deep she's going to go, and I'm ready for you, Alia. But one of the things that she asked me to share about secret sauce is what's really been a driving motivator, even when I'm scared, and even when I'm overwhelmed, and even when I'm feeling unresourceful. And generally, that's when you can only see one path forward. If you can only see one path, let's just call it unresourceful. You're not feeling creative. And when I was 17, my mother handed me a small book, and it was called Seeds of Greatness by Dennis Waitley. 17 years old, and in that book, one of the messengers and the messages that spoke to me specifically was Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor who he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. But in this nugget that I took from this book about Viktor Frankl, he basically said, no matter what, is going on, you choose your response. No matter what, choose your response. And in his situation, and this is what was so profoundly impactful for me, from a credibility standpoint, much had been taken from him. His freedom, his family, his maybe even his faith in humankind. All had been taken from him. And he said there was one thing that was mine that I wasn't going to let anybody touch. And that was how I chose to respond. Did I choose to respond with love? Did I choose to respond with hate? Did I choose to respond with hurting other people? And that stuck with me. I'm 57 today. So that was, well, it's not my birthday, but I am 57 today. But think of that, for 40 years, this underlying thought is anytime I feel stuck and I'm thinking, oh, I can't believe this happened to me. Underlying that is, okay, what's my response? I own it. I own my choice. And that's had me close businesses and open businesses and write my own rules and step into my fears. And I just, I've created this amazing life where I now have the opportunity to mentor and to coach and to give back with a pure desire just to have impact, just to help you believe in yourself. Because my favorite part of coaching and mentoring is that I believe you already have all the answers you're looking for. I don't have the answers to give you. They're already inside of you. You have the answers. So you may have heard this before, but Michelangelo, someone asked him once when he, with the sculpture of David, he said, it's so magnificent. Like, how did you come up with this? And he said, it was already there. I merely chipped away to reveal the magnificence. And that's what I believe is in each of you. So I want you to know, as you go into your pitches, right before you're getting ready to share and bare your soul, take a deep breath and think about how important it is to reveal that magnificence that's in you, because I guarantee it's going to open the doors to whatever is next and extraordinary. And just keep walking through those and putting yourself in the place of most potential, and magic will happen. And Alia, I know I'm in this room on the screen as a talking head.
Hi everyone.
And I would love to have a conversation.
I know. Thanks, Theresa. I would really tap into the first thing that you mentioned, the ugly stuff.
Yeah.
We want to tap into that, Would you share with us, what was, let's say, the biggest failure and what did you learn out of it, because that's the feeling, and we talked about it, we're an open and honest community, sharing like in a brutally honest way, because we all believe, we can learn from failures, and.
Okay, here we go. We're going in. So here's what I notice. And no one is immune to this, but we all have ways that we self-sabotage. Everybody, male, female, no matter how much money or how little money or what your age is or anything else, your level of success. If you notice, everyone has some way that they self-sabotage and undermine it. They say, I want this and all the strategy in the world, and then we're not doing what it takes, or we're saying something wrong. So that's the ugly underbelly, is if we can find a way, and for me, part of that way in my personal relationships and in my business, part of the way was honestly to go into therapy. And I wish that I had figured that out probably 20 years earlier. It would have changed so many things in my life. But that's the ugly part. The hardest part is getting to know yourself. And, bearing my soul, I've suffered through sexual assault. I've suffered through divorce. I've suffered through loss and pain. And all of these, any kind of trauma that you experience, any kind of baggage and story that you're carrying with you is just this thing that oftentimes hides and comes out and is the little voice saying, you can't do this, you're no good, who do you think you are? I mean, it can be as simple as, I had a friend the other day and she has a new baby and she's going back to work full time. And I suggested to her, maybe since you work and your husband work, maybe hire someone to clean in your house. She grew up in poverty and her mother cleaned houses for a living. And so in her mind, she said, oh, I'm not that kind of person that would let someone else clean my house, and it will hold her back. It's these little tiny stories. So the ugly part is we all self-sabotage. The way through it is get to know yourself, peel off, and go into the dark places with the professional and share and be open and surround yourself with a supportive community and the people that will call you out. An accountability partner. You know, it's like someone that says, you keep saying you want to do this, and each week that you show up here, you're not doing it. What's really going on? No BS. What is really going on here? What's the fear? Because fear motivates so much of what we do.
And our decisions, right? I wanted to ask, today you being a mentor and a coach, why is it so important to ask for help? Because we love solving problems, self-sabotaging. We love solving problems ourselves, right?
So my mother, I have so many sayings of hers that carry me today. And one really important thing that she said to me was, you have to let people help you. And why she said it, you have to let people help you. That's how you build relationships and build connection. And if you turn that around, and I've had this experience where I have what I think are very close friends, and in a time of need, when I could have been there to help them, they would not ask. They would not ask, or would refuse help. And how I took it was, it was one, somewhat insulting. Oh, you don't need my help, but also a barrier to a way forward, something good for both of us, right? So in the giving is the receiving. And there's certainly a difference between offers that are authentic and offers that maybe aren't really, when someone says, oh, I'll help you, but they don't really want to. That's a totally different, but it's a two-way street on the giving and the helping. And for me, I love being an open book with my mentees, and my goal is to help them. And oftentimes I will see mentees get stuck. There's that fine line between focus and stubbornness and being open to other possibilities as they develop. Because, and I don't know how many parents we have in the room, but I'll never forget, with children, that you always start out with plan A. We're going to get out the door at this time, and this is the plan. Going to one of my first interviews with a 3-month-old, I had a beautiful wool suit on, and I'm getting out to my interview, and this baby proceeds to spit up all over me. So this leads into answering about asking for help. So I had to hurry up and redirect and figure this out and get this child to the babysitter. But I had one of these blouses on for the interview also that had the two long like strings that you tie into a bow, a pretty bow up here. And I was so rushed and so hurried and so frazzled, I couldn't tie the bow myself. So I'm in the parking lot with these strings hanging down that need to be in a bow before I go into the interview. And I stopped a stranger, a woman on the street, and I said, please, will you help me? Will you tie this bow for me? And sometimes it's the simplest things. It's humbling. It's humbling to ask for help. And it's also just it's such a gift to allow someone to help you. It's a gift.
Yeah, I've read Adam Grant, right? Give and Take, and he's talking about that the givers are actually far better off, than the takers. So now I think, are there any questions in the audience?
Yes, we have a question.
Wonderful.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Matea Ulmer speaking from Human Solution. And I was wondering, how do you know when is the right person who can help you? When do you meet this person?
That's a good question, because sometimes it feels like it's very intentional and strategic, and sometimes it feels like it's by accident. And I was a part of a roundtable, a business roundtable group called Vistage, and we would have speakers every month. And one time a speaker came that he was like no one I'd ever met. I was afraid of him. He was one of these, we're going to take over the world. And he was completely opposite to who I was, the people I was surrounded by. I was surrounded by nice, kind, loving, gentle people that might even tell you what you want to hear. And this man was scary to me. He was intimidating. He had charts for his whole life, and I flossed today, and I did this and I did this. He was very structured and regimented, and it made me curious. And so I followed up with this speaker, and I just said, "Hey, Jack." It's like I was curious. I wanted to know, what is it that makes this guy tick? And I really feel like I probably need a little bit more of what he's got, of who he is. I need a little bit more discipline to accomplish my goals. And that had not previously been anything that was in my repertoire. So I followed up with him, and I invited him to dinner. And it was really, like I said, it was scary. It was intimidating. And at the time that we met, he said, this is the accident part. He said, I think you'd be a great fit in this annual organization program that I go to. Would you like an introduction? And I don't know what he's talking about, but I said yes. And saying that one yes was life-changing to the network I now have and people that I call best friends and that would lay down their lives for me. I mean, this has just been, and when I walked into that room of 70 entrepreneurs, I will tell you, I had a preconceived notion about who was there. It was mostly, there were out of 70 people, maybe there were 6 women, and it was mostly, I'll say, type A white male entrepreneurs. And once I got to know people and these are my family. I've been in this community for about 12 years. So I intentionally pursued, because I was curious, who is this guy? What's he about? I think I need a little bit of what he's got in my life. And it opened up this door that I had another opportunity to say yes to. And in that room, I challenged myself to find the people that I needed in my life. Do I always know what it is that I need? No, I don't always know what I need. But if I'm open to that, and can think about a recipe where a little bit of onion and a little bit of garlic and a little bit of parsley, you just bits and pieces, and the whole makes a community. So I don't always know what I'm looking for. Other times it's very intentional. And that might be, I'm creative, I'm generative, and I need a partner, a business partner, who is the opposite of me, who is very structured, maybe thinks more like an engineer, who will challenge my ideas and so that we can right size them and find something that moves us collectively forward. So sometimes it's intentional and I really know what I need, what complement I need. And then other times it's a little bit accidental, but it's almost always by leaning into the fear of asking for help. That doesn't come naturally.
They say that
We have another question.
Hi, Teresa. Maya Fermi from Sustainable Eco-Friendly Fermi Fashion. So thank you to be with us today. It was amazing, you know, how you taught us all those things. But what I really was amazed was that you have 6 children and still you are running your business. So I have just one beautiful daughter and I'm running my business, and sometimes I don't know how, you know, to manage all this. So please give me some advice. How did you organize all those things and, you know, still have time for business and have time for children and not be guilty for when you are at the business and when you are with your children? So really, I'm amazed.
Oh, well, thank you. I can't tell you how much I love this, because this is another opportunity to get real. First of all, my mother always said, if one child takes up all of your time, how can 2 possibly take up any more? So it's way, so don't discount that one child is really important and takes up all your time. The other thing is, I have benefited from, there's a part of me that thinks it's easier to have a lot of kids because they kind of police each other. They put peer pressure on each other. Oh, you didn't do your homework? Well, you know, I got an A in that class. So there's parts, and not only that, but you know, when we had when things started going well for us financially, and you know, every kid was getting an iPod. They were like $199, so $200 a piece. That's a lot of money. If I had one kid, it would be easy. Here's your iPod. If I had 2 kids, all right, sure, we'll buy 2. But with 6 kids, if you want that, I'll meet you halfway. So there have been things that have been, it's actually in some ways been easier a little bit to parent with a lot, but I do want to, and you asked, how did I do it all? And the answer there is I didn't. I did not do it all. And in varying degrees. In part, I have an amazing husband, partner, father of my children, just remarkable. Maybe you identify with this, maybe you don't, but I'm that person that dinner time rolls around every day. And if I'm left to my own devices, it still surprises me that it's like, oh, wait, we have to have dinner today? I just, you know, ADHD, scatterbrain, I'm already on to tomorrow. What? Everyone has to eat today? Thank God for my husband, the project manager, engineer, who got dinner on the table almost every day. Wasn't perfect, didn't include my spices. I mean, when I cook, it's like, you know, a 3-hour deal, but every day, right? So it's taken a little bit of a village. When my parents lived with me, my father, when he was able, would cook. He would drive kids for me. For about 3 years after my father passed away and we had to move my mother out, I did have some live-in help for about 3 years. And that was laundry and grocery shopping and cleaning. And so I really had to prioritize what is the most important thing for me to be doing. And what can I outsource? Outsource in my business and outsource in my personal life. But here's the other part of the truth. Yes, I do still carry to this day some regret and some guilt over times that I missed, that I wasn't there for my kids. And, you know, they grow up to be adults and carry their own baggage. And if you're lucky, they'll tell you the baggage that they're carrying. It's actually more challenging when they don't. When they won't share with you, you weren't there when I needed you this time and this time. I'm still resolving some of that. It's not perfect. My children are very independent. They claim that they are free range children. like the free range chickens. They are free range children because they didn't have a lot of rules. And I don't know, there's doses of luck and doses of peer pressure and the community I put in place. But I will tell you that all 6 of our children are thriving. They're doing magnificently. They're great with money. They're frugal. They're ambitious. They're driven. They're hardworking. But I will also tell you, and this is probably based on their experience of having an entrepreneurial mother with a lot of energy, I haven't found 1 out of the 6 yet that wants to have their own business. So I keep trying to explain there's more than one way to do this. You don't have to do it the way I did.
I think I heard some laughing. So. and I'm in another room, so.
Well, I don't hear the laughing, but I certainly hope you appreciate the
honesty, of course.
The honesty, for sure.
More questions? Yeah, I think
There is.
the mic is going around.
They're muted there.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah, it works, I think. Hi, Theresa. This is Ursula. We develop tools for kids help learn reading. My question is, when you know you have to find people to help you, so to outsource, I find myself in front of dilemma. Do I go for people who just happen to come to the right spot at the right time? Or do I do, the due diligence and research and like be more intuitive? Or I guess, yeah. I always feel guilty where I just go with my gut feeling. So that's the question.
Yeah. And, it's not going to be perfect, right? There's always mistakes. I recall hiring someone that we felt was going to be a really strong candidate. And it was in our gut, the background, the education, the experience. We felt this was a good candidate. And it was pretty apparent pretty early on that he was not a good fit. And so we just said goodbye. So I think you have to be willing to try things, willing to experiment, willing to be wrong, and just recover from it. I don't know if you ever watch, I'm amazed at sports, like in American football and basketball and soccer. You have a player that makes a mistake, a big mistake. They miss a shot, they throw an interception, all of those things. And I'm amazed at the quick recovery to get right back in the game. And so frequently, and especially in business, like think about a hiring decision. You make, you trust your gut, you make a bad choice. And then long after we've let go of that candidate, we're still beating ourselves up. Oh, I'm no good at this. I made a bad decision. I did this, and we won't let it go. So I think, is there a right answer? I think for you, probably being creative about what are the best resources. One is to put out to your network. I'm looking for someone with this skill set. The other thing that I've observed and experienced myself is sometimes we get into a danger zone when we use our gut of hiring people that we like. And if we like them because they're just like us, then maybe they're not complementing us. Maybe they're not the skill set that we need. Maybe we need someone who is exceptionally detail oriented and willing to spend the hours to crunch things where we're not, or the opposite, that they're willing to think more globally and more strategically if we're in the details. So I think if we ask our network, always surrounding ourselves with a peer group. I actually facilitate a monthly group for, it's a worldwide organization called Women Presidents Organization. And I facilitate a chapter of women business owners. And the criteria to be in the group is they have to be, if they're product-based, at least $2 million in revenue, and service-based, at least $1 million in revenue. And the knowledge is there in the room, and the level of experience sharing for the kind of question you asked People will share resources. Here is a recruiter that I loved. Here is a personality tool that I used that worked great. I did this and it didn't work. Or how did you quickly onboard or offboard a candidate? How did you hold that employee accountable? And what kind of performance metrics did you put in place so that they knew what was expected of them and you could measure their progress? So I guess I'm kind of going back to and answering the question a bit here is building some kind of community so that you can get the experience share, especially in your community or in your field. So for me, it would have been in either in the construction field or in my geographic region. I think there's a lot to be mined there. And I also, right now, the job market, I have one of my daughters is I was just talking to her last night. She got her degrees in supply chain management and information systems. And she has a great job. She's not planning to leave anytime soon because she loves the people she's working with and the work she's doing. But she said she gets nonstop recruited, nonstop. So it's competitive out there. It really is. What kind of maybe, going back to this theme of extraordinary growth, you're dependent on extraordinary people. So how are you an extraordinary employer? And that's how I think you get the extraordinary people.
Can you share more about that? Was
Yes.
actually my follow-up question anyway. So
yeah, one of my goals. So listen, we have ideas and we start a business. Some of us are just super creative and terrible employees. And some of us fall into entrepreneurship. And one of my visions, and especially being a woman who was a caregiver for my parents and a caregiver for my children, and I still wanted to have a career, I had to create a business to have the life that I wanted. It didn't exist. The corporate world was not going to create the life that I wanted and needed and the type of flexibility. So that was a driving force in I convinced my husband to quit his job and come work with me to start the construction company. I said, you're so good at what you do. How about you do what you do and I'll build a business around that skill set because I can do that. And then we'll just scale it up. And you work so hard for other people, come work that hard for me. Let's do this. And what that gave us was the opportunity to be a great employer. Great employer. We led by example. And part of that was if our children had early sporting games at school at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, we would plan our schedule around that, but we did that for our employees as well. And one of the 2 proud moments as an employer that really just, to me, this was the vision that I had. One was we had a female engineer project manager come to us, and she was so nervous to tell us she was pregnant with her first child. And she had come from working for other construction companies, and it was not a friendly environment for a young female. And for my husband and I both to express our joy and happiness for her, she just stood there and started crying. She said, I don't know what I was expecting. I was scared to tell you, but thank you. Thank you for having this be a joyous moment that you're sharing with me. So that was one moment. And even the way that we structured, do you want to come back to work and how you do that? And we let her guide what was going to work well for her and her family and that fit with our business. We had to do both, but it was just, I was really proud of that. And another moment, my director of operations, a husband and a father. His wife worked full-time at Johns Hopkins University, and they had 3 young children. Well, his job in the family was to pick up the children at the end of the day from childcare. And so he had a hard stop. In construction, I loved nothing more than telling our clients, and Chris has a hard cutoff. He's not available beyond 5 p.m. because he picks up his children. I mean, I did that, and just so proud in our benefits package. It's like we provided. We're in the U.S., and if you haven't heard, we have problems providing health care for people. That's not a lie. I didn't make it up. Look up the data. It's a problem. We provided 100% health insurance coverage to all of our employees and their families. They didn't have to contribute. We just made it a non-negotiable. We were a family-friendly workplace, and I can't have my employees worrying about their health or their family's health. They're not going to the doctor if they're sick. Let's just take that off the table. And we're going to deliver on this mission of being a family-friendly organization and provide 100% health insurance. And our insurance broker called us crazy and said, but no one is doing that. No one is doing that. I said, do I look like I worry what anybody else is thinking you're doing? So making up the rules, that's why I became an employer. It's what attracted great employees and kept them. And you decide what's most important to you and what you want to be proud of, because those are moments and things that I'm really proud of and that attracted people.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. If there's a question in the audience, otherwise I have it.
Hi, Teresa. My name is Beate. I come from company Polydent. We are manufacturing artificial teeth and other products for dental laboratories. I'm very glad you are here with us today. You are an amazing woman. Compliments. And I would like to ask you, do you find any time for yourself in your busy day? Do you have any hobbies? Do you have any sport? Where do you feel your batteries? Because you are so energetic.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you for that. And I'm actually, that's one of my superpowers. I take care. I think it's the Latina thing. It's like, if we're not having fun, we're not interested in doing it. It's also part of the ADHD. It's like my energy goes to things I'm interested in or attracted to. So yes, my middle name is Fun. I like to dance. I like to hike. I like to hang with friends. Sadly, I'm rescheduling a trip to Croatia to see a friend of mine who is actually buying a home in Kirk. So I'm rescheduling that. But, I have friends that, I have a vacation home in Hawaii. Anybody want to come? And I go. And do you know the pilgrimage in Spain, El Camino de Santiago de Compostela? I walked that. So I walked across Spain. I've been to Peru with a shaman and some good friends and camped out in a really scary storm. So I hike, I travel, I camp. And during the height of my business, I took probably 4 summers where I have a brother that lives on the other side of the country in the Pacific Northwest. It's beautiful, the mountains. And I had it wasn't small. I had a motorhome, a recreational vehicle that I had my brother park at his farm in Boise, Idaho. And I would fly in with my 4 youngest children and just take them traveling and camping and whitewater rafting. And I'm very adventurous. I'm very, very good at taking care of myself first, because the way my energy works is absolutely, if mommy's not happy, if the boss isn't happy, I can't generate, I can't create, I don't have my mojo. It's like you can see the energy meter, right? Like if it goes down, it's like, I have to sit still at my desk and do this work and it's boring. And then, fresh air and friends and going outside and we're laughing. Woo! I love to laugh. So there are lots of things. If I feel, and it's just paying attention. And if I feel like I need to, I have a sister who's 5 years younger than I, and one of her favorite things to do is to watch stupid, funny movies where we laugh so hard that we're going to pee our pants. And that is just the best medicine. And sometimes you don't know that you need something until after you've done it. But I think it's so, so important. And going back to how does this impact our children and our families, I think it's so important to role model quality of life and having a full life and what are your core values. And one of my core values is fun and quality of life. With my parents getting sick at such young ages, that hit home with me. You do not put off joy. You do not put it off. And it can't be, it's not a financial issue. If the sun is shining and you have feet and you can move, you can go outside and listen to a bird and smell the fresh air, right? It can be the tiniest little things. And just by virtue of the fact that you're in this room tells me that there are some things that are going right in your life that you can be here.
I mean, Theresa, that was like the perfect sentence to end this discussion. I'm really sorry, that we do have to end it, but don't put off joy, I believe this is like a really cool final remark from your side. To everyone here, I would really love to say thank you. And I think we can do an applause, right?
Yeah.